It's the Quiddit Podcast.
Damn. I'm never going to get used to that intro, man. It just freaks me out. Well, dig, here we are. Unbelievably, episode 4 of the Quiddit Podcast. Yeah. This is beyond fun, man. It's actually enjoyable and cool and hip, pleasant, wonderful for me, and I hope beautiful for you. Here we are. So this podcast has but one subject. The previous ones had multiples, had 3 subjects, but this one has one. It's called To Infinity and Before. It's all about physics, the vexing, the understanding thereof, and my lifelong quest to try to figure it out as I encounter physics on a daily basis. So it could be argued that this is just one subject, but it's multiple subject. We are legion, say the subjects. There's a bunch of them. Yea, it could be all of them. It's both infinite and infinitesimal. Kind of like this trombone solo. Huh! Yeah. That's me. That's yours truly. Yeah. On trombone. It comes from a jazz fusion album that I put out a while back with some wonderful friends from Denver, Colorado, from the University of Denver, Lamont School of Music when I was teaching there. And that area close to the mountains is like, here's the mountains, the Rockies, and then it like a little bowl, and that's where Denver sits. I always have to enjoy that double seat. That's where Denver sits down there at the bottom. And so looking at those mountains, they were described as the Front Range. So I called the group Front Range, but just to be extra ultra hip, I spelled it PH instead of F, and then FR umlaut. Oh man, if you want to be extra hip, put a umlaut wherever possible. Thank you, Deutschland. Mein sehr gut Freunds from Deutschland. Ow! So put a umlaut in there, and that's Front Range. That's myself on trombone. But the sound, I played this for the great Randy Brecker, and he said, man, I love the sound, which just sent me over the moon that the great Randy Brecker dug it. But, we're about to run out here. I'll tell you more. Yeah, it faded out there a little bit, so, Randy Brecker dug it and said, what kind of electronics did you use on your sound there? And that sound is a unique sound. There's no electronics. It's just acoustic trombone with a very good mic that engineer Michael Schultz provided. He did a great job engineering this thing as well. But wonderful microphone, but it was acoustic. However, the other 2 gentlemen playing the melody with me, therefore the front line was my good friend Art Boughton. Such a lovely man is Art Boughton. He plays great bari sax with Vinyl Hampton. He plays all the woodwinds really extremely well. Great doubler, we call those kind of folks in the business. But also plays this unique instrument called the electronic wind instrument. The acronym is pronounceable, so we call it the EWI. He played a EWI. And the third voice in that front line is guitarist Mike Abbott. Man, killing guitarist. So you put those 3 sounds together, and that's the melody sound. Rounding out the ensemble is Eric Gunnison on piano and synthesizer, the marvelous Mike Marlier on drums, and my man Eduardo Barbosa, a.k.a. Bijou, on the bass. Great, great band. That's what that music was. Now, what were we talking about? Watch out, watch out, watch out. That's a nice little groove. I don't know how long you can stand to hear it, though. It's kind of repetitive, but check it out. Yeah. That's it, man. Okay, so that is another golden gem from 200 Comedy Sounds and Funny Sound Effects. That's the collection of sound effects that I bought that also has grooves. All right, Dan. So what's all this about physics? Sounds kind of dry, but it's just the laws of the universe, the nature of things, why things work like they do. Now, I am, full disclosure, a completely 100% right brain person. The right side is what science tells us controls creativity and all that. That's where that stuff lives. That was a nice break. The left side is where math, common sense, problem solving, I don't know, a little bit of that can live on the right. But anyway, I try to get over to the left every once in a while, and I get this message that says, "Have you lost your password?" And there's nothing to click. There's no way to get a new password. So I am forever locked out of the math side of my brain. I do have almost an obsession, a highly enjoyable appreciation of numbers and how they work. I like numerology, things that get all synchronistic like that, weird combinations of numbers, things that come up at a strange time that equal a series of numbers, as in this newsletter, where we find out finally what the final digit in pi is in one of the Quiddit cartoon strips. That's the end of that groove. But you know what brought this on was I was walking Miss Phoebe. Remember was it the first podcast? It's just so long ago. There's so many of them. I did a whole thing about coming to theaters in May. Walking Miss Phoebe, or training Miss Phoebe, I think it was. But, okay, me and Miss Phoebe are out walking our golden retriever, beautiful golden retriever, teenager now. She's 17 months or so. And we were out walking, and we always go by the tennis courts by River Park. That's close to where we live here in Lincoln Square in the beautiful city of Chicago. That's the neighborhood, is Lincoln Square. Wonderful little village type place that has an Irish pub. It's staggering distance from where I live. That's my Irish accent, and I'm sticking with it. You know, it's good for my heart. My heart. That's as good as it gets. Okay, so I'm walking Miss Phoebe. We always go by the tennis courts because sometimes somebody hits one of them tennis balls over the outer fence net thing that surrounds the court. And then it's fair game for the dogs. It's mine. It's in my house now. And Phoebe searches for those tennis balls, and when she sees one, she lunges forth and grabs it. "This is mine, laddie buck." I don't know why she turns into Sean Connery, but she seems to. Grabs the tennis ball, and in true golden retriever fashion, will carry it all the way home. And that's close to a mile. So she's proud and prancing with the tennis ball. What the hell has this got to do with physics? Let's get back to that, shall we? There's a groove you can dig. That's yet another one off the 200 Comedy Sounds and Funny Sound Effects. Why do I keep mentioning that? Because I paid for it. Gonna get my money's worth out of that, y'all. Woo! It's a nice little groove here. repetitive as heck, but, I paid for it. Hey, so anyway, how does this have anything to do with physics? So Phoebe and I are walking by the tennis courts, and I notice out of the corner of my eye that something's not right with the universe. Here's a guy who's just slamming away at a tennis ball. It goes over the net, and it gets hit back to him. Man, he slams it back, and it gets hit back right away, very quickly. And I'm thinking, as I look more closely, I see he's the only one on that court. Hits the tennis ball, and it gets hit back to him, but there's nobody hitting it on the other side. And I think, fascinating. What's this? Right. It's like Scooby-Doo kind of sound happening. And I look more closely, and I think, well, there's got to be, all right, there's a string on this thing, some kind of big rubber band that's pulling that ball back. But he's hitting it pretty far. It goes a far distance and then stops in midair and comes back. But I can't see any rubber band or anything. Then it occurs to me, I have cataracts. So, of course, I'm not going to see whatever it is that's pulling it back. So I say to the guy, hey, you got a string on that thing? And 5 courts deep, everybody looks at me. I must have said it louder than I thought. They all look like, what's going on over here? Strange person, alert, alert. And the guy in question, though, laughed because I'm sure he was expecting that. And he grabs seemingly nothing in the air and grabs onto the tennis ball and makes a little stretchy kind of universal sign for rubber band somehow attached to the tennis ball. All right, all you tennis folks out there are hip to this, I'm sure. I never seen that before. And because I have a wonderful set of cataracts on my right eye that will soon be taken away, that is going to be on the next podcast. And all the boomers in the audience said, oh, I'm turning in. I'm going to tune in on that one. Because, you younger folks that are checking this out, someday you might be interested in the cataracts. But, so he had a string on there. So it wasn't, the tennis ball was not breaking the laws of physics once set in motion. Oh, wait a minute. It's coming to me now that I took a break post-production and looked it up on the internet. Newton's laws of motion. An object at rest remains at rest, and an object in motion remains in motion at constant speed and in a straight line, unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. What? So that ball should not have stopped in midair and come back. And there was a reason for it. The unbalanced force was that there rubber band thingy that he was using. Oh, man, this is a nice groove. I'm just using them all up. What am I going to do for the next podcast? I guess I'm going to have to make my own. That'll be fun. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's a hip groove. I'll bring that one back in a little bit. Let's talk physics. All right. I'm wondering on a couple of different levels here, aspects of physics. Let's do the broad spectrum, the thing Sergeant Carter and my little Gomer Pyle fella there in the picture in the newsletter. What's that about? So regressing into infinity, the thing when you can put 2 mirrors reflecting against each other, one facing one way, one facing the other, and you look into it, and it looks like a billion versions of you going off into infinity. So let's take the big picture, macro, large infinity. Imagine that, if you will, because I try to imagine it all the time and it freaks me out. So let's get freaked out together. The universe, incredibly big. If it is infinite, and it is, I can tell you why. How big is that? So you keep traveling forever. Let's say you can travel forever. You can warp. We talked about that on the last podcast. You can fold space multiple times. Space as an origami. What? Yeah, I had to check. Origami, that really is a word. You know, the beautiful Japanese art form of folding paper into little animals and stuff. If you could do that with space and go forever, would you find the edge of the universe? I will tell you why you won't. Because you find the edge. What's on the other side? There has to be something on the other side. Now, physicists try to get all coy with this and say, what if it was a curve and a loop? It just loops over. Fine. Okay, as you're going around the corner on the loop, what's behind that wall? Got to be something there. So, in my mind, infinite works. That works. Hey, here's a sidebar. That means it's time for
Having fun with math.
What? Uh-huh.
Woo! Get it, get it.
Yeah, okay, I had to bring the groove back for that. Having fun with math? Yeah, just hang with me for a second here. So, let's come up with the definition of the center of a sphere. Formally, a sphere is the set of points that are all at the same distance from a given point in three-dimensional space. That given point is the center of the sphere. Yeah, you know that's right. So, if that is the definition we are operating from, dig this. Any place in an infinite universe, i.e., a sphere that has no end, any place is the center of the universe. You know what I'm saying? That means you, me, the worst person that you know of, the nastiest thing that there is, and the most beautiful thing that there is are all the center of the universe. Game over, man. Game over. What do we do now? Yeah, look who's back. The original 200 comedy sounds and funny sound effects groove. All right, here's some example of physics. Try that again. Physics queries in real life. Let's start with dog physics. That's kind of funny. Once again, everything relates to Miss Phoebe. So Phoebe and I are walking, and she'll turn in a direction that makes no sense for the leash, and she'll be kind of caught unawares as the leash tangles around her neck and starts to put a chokehold on her. Physics! You can't turn that way against the leash because it's in the way. It's not going to work. Phoebe also steps in front of me randomly while we are in motion, and probably wouldn't even notice or care or be surprised at all if I defied the laws of physics and just melted right through her as she got in front of me. That's how accepting dogs are. I often think, a dog could be sitting in a living room and suddenly President Bill Clinton could just melt through the wall naked and walk into the room and say, "Does anybody have any milk?" Wow, I need to work on my Bill Clinton. That's not very good. But you get the picture. All the laws of physics would be broken if the former president did that. And why is he looking for milk? But I digress. But a dog is cool with all that. How about some other physics examples that I see? Driving. Oy. Yeah, driving. Let's discuss that for a minute. The speed limit is maybe 70 miles per hour on the expressway that I'm traveling. And because I got a Starship, I got the Elon Tesla thing. I like to cruise around 80. Yeah, oof. Ding, says my phone. As an aside, that's from my friend Baseball Dave, who was letting me know that the Cubs are winning. Okay, That's a heck of a digression. But so I'm around 80 miles an hour, and some clown I see coming in hot behind me. And, there's 3, 4 lanes of traffic, and there's no way for him to pass, but he's coming on fast. And I'm thinking, room? What? And he slams on the brakes and then just starts tailgating. What's he thinking? Obviously, does not have a good grasp of physics. Does he think that if he keeps going, that the atoms of his car will start vibrating like the Flash in DC Comics and will just melt right through me? No, I don't get that. Here's one more physics in real life. Elevators. Now, this is more of a pet peeve of mine than perhaps a demonstration of physics gone wild, in the wild, as it were. But on an elevator, people, we have to come to grips with the fact that there might be other people on the elevator as it comes down to your floor or up to your floor. How many times have you been on an elevator and say you're on the 5th floor and you want to go to the lobby, but somebody on the 2nd floor wants to go to the 5th floor or to the lobby, and it stops on the 2nd floor, and that person just instantly walks in and then gets that look on their face like, what? I thought I was the last and only person on the planet. Who are you? A dentist? Yeah, so what? So here's the physics involved. You need to wait. You need to wait, folks, and see if there's somebody else on the elevator. They might be coming out, and you need to let them come on out. Or just get out of the way and be ready for that possibility.
Calling Neil deGrasse Tyson. Calling Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, man. Now we're getting deep. We're getting into special relativity, general relativity. Not to be confused with major irrelativity. The Lorentz transformation. Space, time. Oy. Albert Einstein, look what you did. Look, you made us think. Relativity, man, that has spawned a whole different way of thinking, and it's been like that for a long time. Do you understand it? I know that I don't, but I use it all the time. I talk about it. And that's, I suppose, the beauty of the whole thing. Because, on a certain level, relativity, we all have a bit of a grasp of it, the idea that a starship traveling a fraction of the speed of light, the farther away it gets, time seems one way for the occupants of that ship, and it goes more slowly for those of us sitting around saying, wonder what they're doing on the starship. Yeah, just watch the movie Interstellar, give you a good primer on that. And speaking of primers, to try to understand these things, I mentioned my man, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Check him out on he's got a podcast, Star Talk. It's him and a wonderful comedian named Chuck Nice, or it could be Nietzsche. But when I've listened to the show, I forget how he pronounces his last name. Nice. But he puts things. He's a brilliant cat, along with being very funny. He can hang with Neil. So that's a great show. A lot of different subjects, a lot of fun there. And then Neil has a wonderful book, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. Huh. Whoa. Okay. Time to wake up. So, yeah, physics in the real world, whether it be dogs getting all tangled up in a leash, a tennis ball that stops in midair, reverses course. What? UAPs, which we haven't even talked about. What else? Elevators, cars doing weird things, thinking they're going to vibrate through another set of atoms. Oy, oy, oy. Physics. It's fun.
It's the Quiddit Podcast.
It sure is. Well, look at that. We have come to the end of another glorious show here at the Quiddit Newsletter Deluxe Extravaganza and the podcast thereof. So yeah, man, this was fun. I don't think we learned anything or established anything or really did anything, but it's always fun to talk about physics. Hey, and it's time for a commercial. Our one and only sponsor, that would be me, folks, and my book called Leadology. It's a methodology for learning to play lead trombone. And who wouldn't want to learn that? It's also chock-a-block with its own set of cartoons and characters to help make your practice time a pleasant experience. So get Leadology today. Check it out. leadtrombone.com, leadtrombone.com. And that's where you can get that. In the meantime, as my man Duke Ellington used to say, we love you madly, who is we, me, Phoebe, and Miss Deborah. And we'll catch you next time here on the Quiddit Podcast. Bye, y'all.
The Quiddit Podcast is a production of Westworld Productions 2024.